Welcome to the Doctor's Mentor Show. If you believe that medicine is an industry and not a profession, if you enjoy submitting complex reimbursement claims, or you would do another residency just for fun, be advised, you're about to be offended. You should probably leave now.
All this talk about mentoring doctors is ridiculous. I thought doctors learned to do everything better than everyone else the first year of medical school. At least that's the way they act.
If you love assisting patients with vitality breakthroughs, if the right to practice medicine without interference is important, and you want expert tips for practice freedom and profits to support your epic life, welcome aboard and prepare to be blown away. The Doctor's Mentor Show starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Lori Barr.
I'm Dr. Lori Barr. Welcome to today's show. Sometimes you have an opportunity to be around champions. And this morning, when I was getting out of the shower, I realized that that was the real gift of getting to practice at Austin Radiological Association since 1999, is that I have actually surrounded myself with world champions. And I got to interview one of my former partners from Austin Radiological Association. We call it ARA. So in our interview, you're going to hear ARA. I got to interview him last night. His name is Dr. David Nichols, and he is an amazing human being. I want you to notice as we're talking how there are themes that David has nurtured in his life, and by nurturing it in himself, it has spread in everyone he influences. The first time I met David was when I came to interview at Austin Radiological Association. And, they were taking me around to different sites and different hospitals, and I was meeting different administrators and different doctors. And I walked into this office, and as soon as the door was closed, his demeanor changed. He became very serious, and he just laid it out flat, like the worst possible day I could ever experience at ARA, what that would be like. And he asked me if I had any questions, and the questions I asked, he answered with brutal honesty. Well, I hadn't encountered that on an interview before, but it was Texas, and I'd been in Texas before, so I knew that was a good thing. And when I left the interview, I didn't know if he liked me or wanted me to be in the group or not. I couldn't tell. It was very intimidating. You'll see in the interview what the motive was behind that, and how that really is an example of how he influences those around him. The themes I want you to look for are duty, love, commitment, and finishing what you start. Champions finish what they start. And you'll see that in our interview. You'll hear it in the words that come out. You'll feel the emotion that comes to the surface, not only when David's talking about the love of his life, but with every patient he encounters.
Today's topic: live.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lori Barr, the doctor's mentor, and I'm here tonight with Dr. David Nichols. And Dr. Nichols is a radiologist. He's an MD. He's a native Texan, graduated from Texas Tech Medical School, and a lifer with ARA before he decided to retire recently, much to our chagrin, because he's an awesome radiologist. And I am so glad that you have decided to join me here tonight to talk a little bit about what really made you successful as a radiologist, and more importantly, as a doctor and a human being, because I haven't seen any phase of your life that you have not been wildly successful in. So, is there anything you've failed at?
Lori's a world-class pediatric radiologist. In her initial interview with ARA, I gave her some tough thoughts about how the group would function and work. She thought at the time I was trying to scare her off. I was actually trying to give her the brutal truth so that no one would be upset if they came here and it was different than what they thought. We were so proud to get her in this group. And after that, we got many, many, many other world-class radiologists. And I was really proud to be in this group. And that's part of how you become successful. You get the smart, the right people. That's what we did on your interview.
Well, and surrounding yourself, supposedly you're the amalgamation of the 5 people you hang around with the most. So there's some sense in that. We do start synchronizing our thoughts and all that thing. So, all that thing. Listen to me.
I hang around with a tree at my ranch, my dog. I don't know who the 5 people I hang around with most. I'd have to narrow that down to 100. And I'm fortunate to have many, many, many friends. And I literally couldn't give you 5. I'd have to give you 25.
Well, that was evident the last time I was at your house. I mean, it was packed with people from everywhere. Let me ask you a question about your ranch, since you mentioned the ranch. How did you come about to be a rancher?
I grew up in Houston. The family had two cattle ranches. So most of my free time was spent wandering around the pasture, trying to not step in the wrong place, and chasing cows and catching bullfrogs, shooting snakes. And I didn't really grow up in the city. Even though I was in Houston, I grew up on the Houston Ship Channel, closest house you could get to the Houston Ship Channel. But we found a million things to do in the country, and I always craved the land. And when I went to school and work, the land was still there, but I was not on the land. And I just always had that craving to have or be able to go on land. And so I looked for 8-10 years, and all of a sudden, while my daughter was at A&M, between here and there one day, I stopped to look at a piece of land, and I just ended up with it. I love my land. I do love it. I go out there, and when I need to, go out there to talk to the trees or whatever else. And when the trees start talking back, that's when I come back in town.
So what challenges have you faced as a rancher that you don't really face as a professional medical doctor? I mean,
floods. I have floods, and they blow my dams, and I have to fix them. And I have to put fish back in the pond. I have to put culverts back in. That's one. I have to face poachers. Poachers come by on the road with guns. And out where my ranch is, if you see an animal in a field, that's dinner. And whoever's in that car, that old bangy, rattly pickup, is going to shoot at it. That happens at my ranch. I've never encountered the problems with either one of those, floods and poachers. And there's lots of other problems, but I don't consider those problems. Those are fun. Those are fun to me. You know, they happen once or twice in your life, and you deal with it, handle it. That was interesting. Okay, next case.
And did you ever worry about, like, did you make sure that you separated the ownership of your ranch from, like, your professional entity as a doctor, so that if you ever got sued about radiology, you wouldn't have to worry about losing your ranch? Or did you take any precautions like that?
No, everything I ever did in my life was David K. Nichols, period. Everything we did was owned by us. We the one. We literally did become one.
And Kay is Dave's wife, and you met her when you were, I don't know, she was
7th grade, summer of 7th grade, on a lake in Michigan. She was in a boat. The lake is shaped like this, figure of 8. I live on this side of the lake. She lived, or my grandparents and family did. She lived on the other side of the lake. Her dad gave her instructions, and she's an identical twin, 2 gorgeous girls. They were in this boat on my side of the lake that their dad told them to take to the boat ramp, which was also on their side of the lake. So I consider myself very lucky because they came to my side of my lake and I met them. There was only one slight problem, though. Their boat was sinking. That was one problem. There was 2 problems. They were like the ugly ducklings. They hadn't not grown into their limbs yet, if you know what I mean. And I took one look at that and I thought, oh my God, what's wrong with them? What part of West Virginia did they grow up? I probably shouldn't have said that. Just kidding, West Virginia. It took about 2 years, but we became very good friends and played a lot on the lake for the next 3 to 4 years. And about 4 years later, I took one of my buddies from high school to Clark Lake in Michigan, and we're going to look for dates. Just Friday or Saturday night. We're going to look for dates. And who are you going to ask? And I'm thinking, where's the blonde live? Blonde over there, blonde. he says, I think I'm going to ask Kay Vermeulen out. I thought, you idiot. Why would you do that? I'm thinking my first impression. And I saw her 10 minutes later. I was in my boat. I went to her side of the lake. I went by her dock, and she just happened to be on the dock. She just happened to be drop-dead supermodel gorgeous. And I asked her out on the spot, knowing my friend was going to ask her out as soon as he saw her. And she said yes. So I scooped my friend, and guilty. I'm sad to say I've been guilty of that ever since. I think that's the only bad thing I ever did, but I did it.
So, kind of a rogue maverick move, and how did that play out for you?
It's the best thing I ever did in my life. I love that woman with all my heart.
And y'all were married?
41 plus years.
And
yesterday was our anniversary. Yesterday was 42. I love her with all my heart.
And Kay she didn't make it to 42.
Nope.
She had
pancreatic cancer. Brutal and fast. There's a little bit of humanity in that. The fast, I mean, just a slow, a year and a half is slow and dwindling. She had a year and a half, but that's still fast.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, that's fast, and that's the humane part of it. I'm glad something like that happened. I'm glad it wasn't something like a mutilating car wreck or a 25-year dwindling or something like that.
Now, are your parents gone?
They both of them. Mother at 74 dropped dead of a brain hemorrhage that fast. My dad, same thing, died in his sleep, 78, boom.
Okay, so you had
Quick
some
and fast.
Experience with the death of people
Right.
who love you unconditionally. So
Right.
you had did that prepare you for losing your life mate in any way? Or, I mean, what did you do? How do you handle this? I mean,
nothing prepared me for this because I had never been through a declining slide that ends with death. I'd never experienced that in my life. This was not brutal. We didn't have to think about it much. We did everything we could to diagnose, cure, help up the prognosis, live longer, live better. But in reality, what we did, we knew what we had to deal with, and we didn't change anything in our lives. We just did our lives. I took her to everything we do, didn't change a thing, and I'm really proud of that. And there's a fabulous, fabulous shining example of this. She was a world-class, totally world-class trick water skier, and it was her life and her love. Probably loved that more than me. And 1 month before she died, they had the regional water ski championships in Louisiana. We're at the regional water ski championships, and Kay's trying to trick. And she had won a world championship about a year and a half before that. And she was at the regional, and she was healthy at that. 6 months later, she got the bad diagnosis. So it was a slide. And by the time her last month of life, she's trying to water ski in the regionals, and nobody shows up in her division. She's the only one skiing. She's old, and they don't put them out to pasture. They just let you ski in your age group, your division. So she's there. No one was skiing, but when it came time for her to get up, she didn't have the strength to get up behind the boat. So people dove in the water, and we claimed it was a driving error. Didn't get it. You have to get up or you're done. But anyway, the driver gave her a second chance. People dove in the water to go help her tread water and be above water so she could start. And they gave her a little push when she started, and she could not make it up. No strength. And everybody on the shoreline was hooting and hollering and loved it. And she couldn't get up to compete. But at the banquet for that regionals, that's 5-state deal. At that banquet, Kay had strength to go there for 5 minutes. We walked in 5 minutes, and we walked out, and 5 minutes later, the entire room, we didn't know about this. We didn't know about this at all. The whole room erupted with standing ovation for Kay that went for minutes and minutes. And then 6 months after she died, and we didn't know anything about any of this. 6 months after she died, medal came in the mail first. It was first place. They sent her a medal, and she never knew it. Thanks. Never knew she won.
Well, but she knew she was a champion. I mean, you both were water ski champions, and you lived like champions. You had high standards for everything in your life. In fact, I see signs of perfectionism in you. And that's why I was asking, have you ever failed at anything? Because many people who go into medicine are perfectionists, and it can be really hard to deal with failure if A, you don't do it much, and B, you're really afraid of it. So that's why I asked if you were a perfectionist or not. Oh, well, if you had failed at anything. So.
I know one thing I failed at.
What?
It's Kay. Kay had a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer that she got 10 months before she died. She had pre-existing thyroid cancer about 10 years earlier, complete thyroidectomy, and was on thyroid hormone. And after we had a Whipple procedure, which was 5 months before she died, we cured the pancreatic cancer. And she did fabulous at the Whipple surgery, but then started a 5-month decline that was straight downhill, and nobody caught the fact she was hypothyroid. I caught it. I caught it 3 months before she died, and we proved it, but it was too late. At that point, she'd lost so much body mass and strength, and metabolic everything was down to zero. And if we'd have picked up on that sooner, she might have been able to live longer.
So, and you were the one who picked it up. So even though it took you longer, you didn't exactly fail at it.
I picked it up, and then Tom Blevins proved that it was, in fact, hypothyroidism.
So, speaking of hypothyroidism, now Kay was how old?
63.
63.
Oh, she was almost 64.
So, thyroid hormone and the whole function of the thyroid gland, it's a master hormone. I mean, if you don't have that, your body just does not function right, and you don't make all the other hormones you need. So people underestimate how important it is, and they also underestimate, like, just falling at the low end of normal, depending on your age, that may not help you feel healthy at all. So, that's a very important point, is if you're feeling sluggish, if you're having trouble losing weight, if your hair is thinning, if your nails are brittle, those are all, or if you have mental fog, those are all signs that you might have a low thyroid and that you might want to get your thyroid level checked. And if your doctor says, oh, it's, 1 point over the bottom end of normal, and they're not concerned about it, think about going to a doctor who takes that seriously.
Good point. Very good point.
So let's shift now and talk a little bit about you, radiologist superstar, because you are.
I'm glad you feel that way, but I don't feel like I fit that picture.
Well, I mean, you've been a big face for ARA. You were originally part of ARA before the merger with Radcon, right?
Yes.
And you joined ARA. ARA's been around since 1954. 54. And you joined ARA?
83.
And then the merger with Radcon happened?
That was
early
must
90s.
Have been 95-ish.
Yeah.
Or 96, 7, somewhere in there.
And ARA now has over 100 radiologists, one of the most efficient radiology practices in North America. And how far out from your training were you when you joined the group?
2 years and 3 months. I first joined another group across town, much smaller group, and decided at 2 years and 3 months I did not like that practice. So I quit, just like that. And the next day, my wife accidentally told the daughter of the chief radiologist in that group. So,
oh my goodness,
I wasn't going to quit abruptly, but actually her deal was first. She told the daughter first. Mm-hmm. So now I'm in the position, okay, I have to quit. So I did, and thank goodness within 24 hours, the 3 other radiology groups called me. I never imagined they have this thing, a non-compete clause. Most everybody signs them in situations like this. I'd signed it, but once you're out of the group, then you're like a free agent. And it was pretty nice. And I had my choice of where I wanted to go. Lucky deal.
And you did your residency where?
Michigan, University of Michigan.
Surprise, right? So,
that's where my wife came from.
So, straight out of residency, couple years in practice, then you joined ARA. ARA is one of the busiest, most efficient practices in North America now. And, you know, what characteristics about yourself have you noticed that really helped you be as efficient as you needed to be successful at ARA all these years?
That's funny. I mean, you just keep going. I mean, it's as simple as the stack is this tall or whether the computer list is this long, whatever it is, it's there and you just keep doing it. I don't claim any brilliance in efficiency or any brilliance in work or any brilliance in medical knowledge or anything, but I just think I was the guy that if you just keep going, if you just keep doing it, stay with it, and you will get there. I don't have any brilliance here. I'm sorry.
So I heard a rumor that you're sometimes thought of as lazy. Is that true?
Oh, totally true. Totally true. But in the term lazy, there's a little bit of beauty in that because I am lazy, but the workload is high. I have to be very, very efficient to get it done. And that's totally true. Most people don't know that I'm lazy because you can't tell because the work goes on forever and there's no stopping. There's no bathroom breaks or any other kind of break. I thought about taking up smoking so I could have a smoking break, but no, didn't ever do it.
And speaking of smoking, I've never really seen any evidence that you have any unhealthy habits. Is that just because I don't know you that well and you don't do them at work, or do you live as clean as I think you do?
No, I drink probably too much soda pop. I drink orange Sunkist. I love it, orange Sunkist. That's probably my worst vice, but I try to eat my food at Whole Foods, pick up salad and eat it for 3 nights in a row and blah, blah. No, I try to live healthy, but soda pop's bad. Maybe I'll quit tomorrow. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll quit right now.
And how do you, I mean, you and Kay, always tip-top shape. How, I mean, I know you were both water ski champions, right? Your last, let's see, you were a college water, let's go through your legacy with water skiing.
Well, mine is not near like my wife's. I'll give you the quick rundown on Kay's water skis. She won 19 national championships. This is women's trick water skiing. She won 19 national championships, set several national records, won 2 world championships that were 28 years apart. This is the only 2 world championships she ever skied in. She never skied on a U.S. water ski team because to be there, they want you to ski all events, slalom, trick, jump, and she's a special trick specialist. But she was ranked number 1 in the world for many, many, many years, and we never went to the World Championships because they were in Russia and China and had a job that demanded we be here. And she wasn't in it for fame. She was in it for the love of the wind in her hair and coming up out of the water with the hair in the back and the feel of the water and the feel of the wind blowing the water off her body. She's told me this. And she didn't care if she won. But she did care if she did her little trick perfectly. She wanted it to be beautiful. And she was the most beautiful toe tricker in the history of the world for many years in her life. She's very, very good. And I forgot the question. Oh, mine
exercise.
Too. Now mine.
And
that was her exercise.
So how much did she train to be that kind of a world champion?
Oh, she skied. She water skied. She did that at least 5 times a week. Mm-hmm. The summer, 7 times a week.
How many hours a day?
Oh, not as many as you would think. When they go ski, it'd be a 30-minute session.
And then what about the trampoline in the backyard?
That's extra, and she would do trampoline and do her tricks with the rope on the trampoline so she could practice her spins and this and that. And
would she do that every day? Or
a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but she did a lot of that while I was at work. But yeah, she did a lot of that.
But she had a lot of hobbies too.
She had a little swivel thing in the house that she could swivel, move around. Oh, she was a fabulous painter. She was a fabulous wife, mother, grandmother. She was fabulous at everything she did. There's some other things too. And you asked a little bit about me. My water ski career was not near like that. I won some state championships in slalom. That's all I do, except I won a state championship once in jump, which I'm real proud of because I don't jump. But I got some high rankings. I was certified as an open class pro for 3 years, and I did not ever go to a pro tournament because of the work schedule. You had a challenge on Friday, and I was always working on that Friday, and you can't get to Pennsylvania or California, wherever the tournament is, on a Friday. So I didn't ever get to ski as a pro. So in my division at national, I went to about 25 nationals, and I got an 8th, a 9th, and a 13th. That's the best I ever got. I was in first place one time for 5 hours and 22 minutes, not that I'm counting. They called me up on the announcer's podium, and you announce and all that, and it was fun. The other time I was in lead for 3 hours and 30 some odd minutes. Again, not that I'm counting, but those are the 8th and 9th places. But that's very, very close to a medal. So that's the best I ever did. And I'm proud of it. I'm real proud of that. Now,
so what's the legacy of that? I mean, how many people do you think you and Kay have influenced to take skiing and enjoy it and be competitive?
At this moment today, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, they're having a water ski clinic for kids just south of Austin in San Marcos, Texas. It's called the K. Nichols You Can Do It Clinic for kids. They've got 65 kids in the clinic, which is the most they've ever had. They've turned it into an all-night. This is the first time in the history they're staying all night, 2 nights, ski for 3 days. There's 4 water ski lakes. Those 4 water ski lakes are full all day long, 3 days in a row with all those kids. There was 15 kids on the wait list. I may or may not have said that. And this is named after K. Nichols Memorial You Can Do It Clinic. And I'm real proud of that. She has a huge following. And there's more to it than that too, but I don't know how to answer that. There's people that she knows that I don't know. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots.
So between the two of you, though, that's a huge legacy in your life.
Your next step.
6 months from now, when you look back on where you've been and think about some of these things that Dr. Nichols shared with us, living every moment of your life fully, using up your life before you die, right up until the last minute, loving every single moment you're in because it's the one you have, those kind of things change your life. So when you look back at that 6 months from now, you're going to be amazed at how much more you're aware of your life and the events in it and the people around you and the passion that grows. So if you've been lacking passion, or if you're in a setting that diminishes your passion, medicine is known to do that. Doctors tend to have lower feelings, right? Lower emotions. This is the perfect opportunity for you to engage, become more aware, and live your life fully. Have an epic life. I'm Lori Barr.
There's more to explore at thedoctorsmentor.com.
Are you stopping at a hospital? Hello? Don't you know that hospitals are one of the sickest places on the planet? Don't touch anything in there and get out as fast as you can.